The past has a strange way of calling you back. After spending most of my life in America, I felt a deep urge to visit India, the place of my birth, yet a land that had become unfamiliar. My family had settled abroad when I was a child, and over the years, my connection to India had faded into stories and photographs. But something inside me longed to return, to experience the country not as a tourist, but as someone rediscovering his roots. So, I planned a solo trip, determined to explore India on my own terms. While researching places to visit, I came across Puri Beach in Odisha. I had always loved the ocean, and Puri's golden sands and vast waves seemed like the perfect place to spend a quiet evening. But as I dug deeper, I stumbled upon the darker side of its history. Stories of mysterious disappearances, whispers in the wind, and ghostly figures seen walking along the shore at night. Most people dismissed these as rumors, but they fascinated me. I wasn't fearless, but I was an adventurer. I loved exploring the unknown. And so on a Wednesday night, around 8 p.m., I found myself standing on the cool sands of Puri Beach, the salty breeze brushing against my skin. The beach was less crowded than I expected. A few couples strolled in the distance, their laughter carried by the wind. A group of young boys played by the shoreline, their excited voices blending with the crashing waves. The moon was bright, casting an eerie glow over the water. I had my camera with me, eager to capture the beauty of the night. I adjusted my tripod and started experimenting with long exposure photography, letting the waves blur into soft, misty patterns. Time slipped away as I focused on getting the perfect shot. Then, suddenly, I heard a scream. I froze, my hands tightening around my camera. The sound was sharp, desperate, a child's cry. I turned, scanning the beach. The boys I had seen earlier were gone. The once playful voices had vanished. The scream came again, fainter, as if carried away by the wind. My stomach twisted. Was someone in trouble? Without a second thought, I stepped toward the water. The waves lapped at my feet as I waded in, my heart pounding. The cries grew clearer, pulling me deeper into the sea. Soon, the water was at my knees, then my waist. A cold shiver ran down my spine, but I ignored it. Then, I felt it. Hands. Cold, strong, pushing me. Before I could react, I was shoved forward. The force was sudden, unnatural. My body plunged into the freezing water, and for a terrifying moment, I was completely submerged. Panic took over. I thrashed wildly, struggling to find the surface. My lungs burned as I fought to breathe, my mind racing with fear. I knew how to swim, but at that moment, it felt useless. Something was holding me down. Then, as suddenly as it began, the grip loosened. I burst through the surface, gasping for air, my heart hammering against my ribs. That's when I realized the shore was far away. A wave of dread crashed over me. I had only waded in a few feet, yet now I was deep in the sea, at least 30 meters from where I had started. My mind struggled to make sense of it. Had I been dragged in? But by what? The beach looked distant, almost unreal under the moonlight. My legs felt numb as I began swimming back, pushing through the exhaustion. My breathing was uneven. My muscles screamed in protest, but I forced myself to move. I needed to get back. As I swam, a strange sensation prickled at my skin. I wasn't alone. I turned my head, expecting to see another swimmer nearby, but there was nothing. Just the endless, dark waves stretching into the horizon. Then, something brushed against my leg. I kicked harder, my breath catching in my throat. It could have been seaweed, it could have been my imagination, but deep down, I knew better. And then I saw it, a figure, standing on the shore, watching me. My body turned ice cold. It wasn't one of the couples or a passerby. It was a child. Small, unmoving, dressed in what looked like old, tattered clothes. Even from a distance, I could sense something was wrong. The child wasn't calling for help. He wasn't waving, he was just staring. The same cry echoed in my head, the one that had led me into the water. My chest tightened. My arms burned as I pushed myself harder, ignoring the sharp sting of salt water in my eyes. When I finally reached the shore, I stumbled onto the sand, coughing and gasping for air. My entire body trembled, but I forced myself to look up. The child was gone. I scanned the beach, my eyes darting across the empty shoreline. There was no sign of him, no footprints, nothing. I sat there for a long time, my mind spinning. Had I imagined it? Had I been caught in a rip current, my panic making me believe in something that wasn't real? Or had I become part of the stories I had once dismissed? Even now, I don't have the answers. But I do know one thing. Something was out there that night. Something that whispered to me. Something that wanted me in the water. And at Puri Beach, when the waves call your name, it's best not to answer.